Hello everybody, it's Jen, Scrapbena Creations. It is February release week for Kindred Stamps, and today I'm using the new stamp set called Twoo Wuv. A little bit of a tongue tie, but I absolutely adore this stamp set. I think it is one of my favorites that Kindred Stamp has ever done. They've also released these bookmarks with the characters from the stamp set. So I'm just going to take one out here and show you. So these can be used in books or planners to mark your pages. They have some magnets on the back. They're absolutely adorable. Love them. I also received some of the stickers. These are great for decorating the insides of your cards. You can use these in planners as well, and for a whole bunch of different things. What I like about this as well is these can help you with a color map for coloring your images. So we're going to create a one-layer card today using the princess and her true love here, whom I am stamping out first. So I'm going to stamp this using my Lawn Fawn Jet Black ink. I already went ahead and pre-stamped some masks. I just used full sheet adhesive post-it notes. I'm going to now stamp our princess here. I wanted to make sure that the bottom of her dress is at the same level as the bottom of his shoes. Once I get her stamped out, I'll cover her with a mask as well. I then die cut out a circle just using a circle die, and I'm going to have this as the sun behind them. So I am creating a sunset scene today for this stamp set. So the paper behind my card base is a laminated sheet of 110-pound cardstock. I love using this for blending. It's very easy to clean. The first color that I'm going to be using is Fossilized Amber. And here's where I decided I better lay down a post-it note so that I don't color where I want the grass to be. So I'm going to come in now with Ripe Persimmon. And as you can see, I'm having a little bit of trouble blending. So that is because I'm using Spectrum Noir Premium cardstock, which is a cardstock for alcohol markers. So if you want to have things go a bit easier, you can always stamp out your images, fussy cut them, and lay them on top of your scene. I would recommend using some Bristol Smooth cardstock if you want to have a very nice, soft, easy blend. The third color that I'm using is Abandoned Coral, and I'm just using that on the outside edges of the card as well as at the very top. And I've sped this up a lot. I did go over this a few times to get the color exactly how I wanted it, but in the end I did get a fairly smooth blend that I was pretty happy with. So I want the yellow to really remain around the sun, and then just making sure that some of that ripe persimmon is maintained in the middle, and then bringing out the abandoned coral around the edges. So I am going to do that one more time. I'm just picking some of the ink up off of my laminated sheet of cardstock, and this will be kind of the final go around. So when you're not using Bristol Smooth cardstock, it just might take a few more layers to get the blend that you want, but you really can use any cardstock. So now I'm going to lift up that post-it note paper. It's lost a lot of its stick, but I'm stubborn and I still want to get some more use out of this. So I'm just sticking it down really well, and now I'm going to do the grass. And I'm only going to do a two-color blend here. So I'm using Mowed Lawn and Lucky Clover. The Mowed Lawn is the lighter of the two. So really I'm just going to put down a single base coat here with the Mowed Lawn. I'm going to come in after with the Lucky Clover and blend that onto the bottom sides and bring that up a little bit as well. And at this point, I had thought that I was going to cut down this panel, either maybe in a oval shape or something. In the end, I decide not to. So I wasn't too worried about the blend at this point. So now I'm going to lift off my masks. I want the center of the sun here to be really bright, and so I'm going to keep a lot of that white, but you will see I will add some grays with my Copic marker. So I ended up having some sort of green on the top of my card, and it was in the paper, so I don't think it was any of the Oxide. I'm just using my mono sand eraser here to try to fix that up, and then I just kind of had to fix the blending. I did go over the sun here, the lightest bit with the yellow Distress Oxide, but as I said, I want it to be a really strong bright white for this particular card. So now we're moving into the Copic Coloring. So I wanted to color her dress in red. I'm using R29, R24, and R22. So I used my darkest marker, the R29, to lay out where my shadows are going to be. And now I'm coming in with the midtone, the R24, and finishing that off with my lightest color, the R22. I felt like there was a bit too much highlight, so I'm going to bring the R29 down more, as well as more of the R24, and only leave the tiniest bit of highlight for the R22. And I really like how this looked much better after the second coat of markers. I'm going to move on to his outfit. His outfit is pretty simple. He's going to be dressed in all black. So I'm using my lightest marker, the C3, just to coat the paper here, just so that the C7 and the C5 will blend better. So I'm taking my C7 and I'm going to map out the highlights here, trying to make sure that I leave enough space so that we can see some of the lighter colors. These images typically are pretty tiny, so you can do a 2-color blend if you prefer. I'm just so used to doing 3 colors that it normally feels weird if I'm not. So now I'm just coming in with my midtone, the C5, darkening that up, leaving just a little bit of space left for the C3. I'm trying to leave the C3 where pieces of clothing meet, just so you can see the difference in the clothing. Coloring up his sword here with C3 and C1, and now I'm going to move on to their skin tones. I'm going to do them both the same, so I'm using E11 as my midtone. Right now I'm using my darkest, which is E13, and then I will blend all that out with the E00. So just using the E13 very sparingly where the darkest shadows would be, and then I'm blending that with the E11, darkening up around her hair and his hairline, by their noses, and then under their mouths. Most of the area for their faces will be left for the E00 to give them a very pale skin color. And I forgot his chest area there, so I will catch that and fix that up here. Really tiny area, but I love the look it gives. So I just went in with the R20 for their cheeks and blended that back out with the E00. And now I'm going to do the hair. So I'm doing a light, dirty blonde hair color. And a lot of the shading is already mapped out here. So I'm using E35 as my darkest, and then the E53, and then E51, which will give a very nice blonde color. I do go over her hair twice. I just wasn't getting the definition that I wanted with the shading that I did the first time. So that's the great thing about Copics, is you can go back over top of them until you get the blend that you want. So really blending that color out, moving it around with the E51. I'm going to use the same colors for his hair. And again, the shadows are really mapped out in this stamp image, so it's pretty easy to do their hair, which is great. Just needed to do his mustache. And now I just wanted to give a little bit of shadow around our little images here. So I'm going in with the C1 marker, just around where the sun is, and then I'm going to blend that out with the C00. I felt like I still needed to blend that out a bit more, so I brought in my colorless blender. That will give me a really nice soft blend, allowing them to pop a little bit behind, or with the sun behind them. So now I'm just going to ground my images. So I'm using C5, C3, and C1 for the shadows here. There would be quite a bit of shadow as the sun is behind them. For some detailing, I'm using my black gel pen. And then I just wanted to touch up her lips there with the R20. And now I'm just going to add a couple white highlights onto their outfits, just to add a little bit of fun. I realized I forgot the sash around her dress. I want that to be a gold color, so I'm just using E35, and I think that was Y15. So now we're going to work on stamping the sentiment. I just used my embossing buddy there to make sure there was no static on the card, so I can stamp out as you wish in my black Versafine ink. I'm going to stamp that a couple times just so I get a really nice black image for the sentiment. I really wanted it to stand out in the scene. So I'm going to use my clear embossing powder here and then heat this up. And I just love how nice and black that is against the green. So here's where I decide to take a scalloped rectangle die to cut out my panel. This will leave a little bit of a white border on my card base. It gives a nice stitch detailing as well. I added some double-sided adhesive because it was a little bit warped from the embossing, so I had one chance to stick this down, but I did get it down. And I'm really happy with the way this card turned out. So don't forget to go check out Kindred Stamps. The new release is all this week. All the information will be in the description box below. Have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you soon. Bye!